My name is Rebecca Martinez, and I'm 34 years old. I've spent the last 16 years of my life being everyone's second choice, but I never realized it until the day I sat alone in my cap and gown, staring at the 4 empty seats I'd saved for my family. Before I tell you how I ended up celebrating the biggest achievement of my life completely alone, let me take you back to where it all began. I married David when I was barely 18, fresh out of high school and madly in love. He was 21, charming, and had big dreams of becoming a successful lawyer. I was supposed to start college that fall, but 3 months into our marriage, I found out I was pregnant with our first child, Sophia. David was thrilled, but I was terrified. My college acceptance letter sat on our kitchen table for weeks while I battled morning sickness so severe I could barely leave bed. "You can always go back to school later," David said one evening, rubbing my back as I hunched over the toilet. "Right now, our baby needs you." Those words seemed so loving at the time, but looking back, I realized they were the first link in a chain that would bind me to everyone else's dreams while mine gathered dust. Sophia was born beautiful and healthy, and I threw myself into motherhood with everything I had. 2 years later came Marcus, then 3 years after that, little Isabella. By the time Isabella started kindergarten, I had been a stay-at-home mother for 12 years. David's law career had taken off exactly as he'd planned. He was now a partner at a prestigious firm. We lived in a gorgeous house in the suburbs, and from the outside, we had the perfect life. But David had a sister, Carmen, who was everything I wasn't allowed to be. She was 3 years younger than me, single, and completely free to chase every dream that crossed her mind. One month she was a yoga instructor, the next she was launching a jewelry business, then she was planning to become a travel blogger. Their parents, Miguel and Rosa, funded every single one of Carmen's adventures without question, while I clipped coupons and managed our household budget down to the last penny. Carmen received loans that were never repaid for business ventures that never succeeded. While I packed lunches and drove carpool, Carmen jetted off to Bali for inspiration with money from her parents. The worst part was how the family celebrated every single thing Carmen did as if she were discovering fire. For the first time, Carmen's starting a catering business, Rosa would announce during our weekly Sunday dinners, her eyes sparkling with pride. "She's going to specialize in fusion cuisine." "That's wonderful," I'd reply, passing around the elaborate meal I'd spent all day preparing. Sophia got accepted into the honors program at school. That's nice," Miguel would mutter, already turning back to Carmen. "Tell us more about this fusion concept." This dynamic played out for years. Carmen's failed businesses were learning experiences, her impulsive decisions were following her passion. Meanwhile, my sacrifices for the family were invisible, expected, taken for granted. When Isabella finally started school full-time, I found myself with quiet hours during the day and a growing emptiness I couldn't ignore. The college dreams I'd put aside were still there, waiting. One evening, after the kids were in bed, I broached the subject with David. "I've been thinking about going back to school," I said carefully, watching his face. "Just part-time to finish my degree." David looked up from his laptop, surprised. "Really? After all this time? That's a big commitment, Becca. The kids still need you, and my schedule is crazy right now." "I know, but I need something for myself. I've been putting everyone else first for 12 years. After several long conversations, David agreed, but his support came with conditions. Nothing could interfere with his work, the children's activities couldn't suffer, and the house had to run exactly as it always had. Essentially, I could go to school as long as it didn't inconvenience anyone else. I enrolled in evening classes at the community college, working toward my degree in education. I'd always dreamed of being a teacher. The schedule was brutal. I attended classes 3 nights a week after dinner, studied once everyone was asleep, and wrote papers during Isabella's nap times on weekends. But I loved every minute of it. My grades were excellent. I made the dean's list every semester. My professors praised my work, and I discovered I had a real talent for curriculum development. But when I'd share these achievements with my family, I was met with distracted nods and quick subject changes. I got an A+ on my education theory paper. I'd announce over dinner, "That's great, Mom." Sophia would reply without looking up from her phone, "Carmen's jewelry business is really taking off." David would say in the same breath, "She sold 3 pieces at that craft fair." 3 pieces. Carmen sold 3 pieces of jewelry, and it warranted a family celebration. I graduated magna cum laude from community college and transferred to the state university, and no one even asked about the ceremony. The final 2 years of my bachelor's degree were even harder. The coursework was more demanding, and I was now taking classes for nights a week. I was exhausted constantly, but also more alive than I'd felt in years. I was finally doing something just for me, proving to myself that I was more than just a wife and mother. As my graduation approached, I felt excitement I hadn't experienced since my children were born. After 16 years, I would finally have my degree. I would be Rebecca Martinez, Bachelor of Education, summa cum laude. I marked the date on our family calendar 6 months in advance, June 12th, circled in red, but then Carmen made an announcement that changed everything. It was a Sunday. In March, 3 months before my graduation, we were at David's parents' house for dinner when Carmen called. Rosa put her on speakerphone so everyone could hear her news. I've decided to have a big birthday party this year. Carmen's voice crackled through the phone. I'm turning 30, and I want to celebrate properly. I've rented out the rooftop at the Meridian Hotel, hired a DJ, the whole thing. How wonderful. Rosa clapped her hands together. When is it? June 12th, Carmen replied. It's a Saturday, perfect for a party. You'll all be there, right? I'm inviting everyone, all my friends, the whole family. It's going to be amazing. My fork clattered against my plate. June 12th, my graduation day. We wouldn't miss it, David said immediately. While the kids cheered about going to a fancy hotel party, I sat there in stunned silence as my family enthusiastically discussed Carmen's party, seemingly oblivious to the conflict. No one remembered that June 12th was already marked on our calendar. No one thought to check with me. That night, I tried to address the situation calmly. David, Carmen's party is the same day as my graduation, I said as we got ready for bed. He paused, toothbrush halfway to his mouth. Really? Are you sure? I'm positive. It's been on our calendar for months. He resumed brushing his teeth, thinking. Well, what time is your graduation? 11 in the morning. It should be over by 2 at the latest. And Carmen's party? She said it starts at 7. But you know how these things go. People will want to get there early, help set up, take pictures. David rinsed and spit. So we could do both, right? Go to your graduation, then head to the party? I stared at him. David, this is my college graduation, after 16 years. Don't you think we should plan to celebrate it properly? Of course. We'll celebrate, he said, missing my point entirely. We can take pictures at your ceremony, maybe grab lunch afterward, then go to Carmen's party. It'll be a full day. I wanted to scream. Carmen's party was already taking priority, and my graduation was being squeezed in as an afterthought. But I bit my tongue, hoping that as the date approached, my family would recognize the importance of my achievement. Over the next 3 months, I listened to endless discussions about Carmen's party. The kids talked about their outfits. David made reservations at a fancy restaurant for beforehand, and his parents called weekly with updates about the guest list and decorations. Meanwhile, my graduation was rarely mentioned. 2 weeks before the big day, I received my graduation packet with the official program and ceremony details. That evening, I spread everything out on the kitchen table. So it's official, I announced. To my family, June 12th at a.m. I have for tickets. David glanced at the materials while loading the dishwasher. Great. 11 to what? About 1. The reception goes until 3. Perfect, he said. That gives us time to go home and change before Carmen's party. Sophia looked up from her homework. Do we have to stay for the whole reception? It sounds boring. I'd like you to, I said quietly. This is important to me, but we need time to get ready for Aunt Carmen's party, Marcus protested, and Dad said we might go early to help set up. I felt the familiar ache in my chest, the one that came whenever my needs were considered secondary to everyone else's. The reception is part of the graduation experience. I was hoping we could celebrate together. We will celebrate, David assured me. We'll take plenty of pictures. But I could see it in their eyes. They were already mentally at Carmen's party. The week of graduation, the family's excitement was palpable, but it had nothing to do with me. David took the kids shopping for new clothes for the party. Rosa called every day to discuss catering details. Carmen sent group texts with photos of the hotel rooftop and decorations being set up. Meanwhile, I quietly prepared for my ceremony. I picked up my cap and gown, wrote thank you notes to my professors, and tried to contain my own excitement since no one else seemed to share it. The night before graduation, I found David in our bedroom organizing his clothes for the next day. His regular khakis and a polo shirt for my ceremony, then a full suit for Carmen's party. "You're not dressing up for graduation?" I asked. "This is dressed up," he said, holding up the polo. "It's just a college graduation, Becca. Carmen's party is formal. Just a college graduation." The words hit me like a physical blow. 16 years of sacrifice, 4 years of night classes, maintaining a 3.9 GPA while managing a household and raising 3 children, and it was just a college graduation. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, finally accepting what I'd been trying to deny for months. My family didn't see my graduation as an achievement worth celebrating. They saw it as an obligation to fulfill before the real event, Carmen's party. Graduation morning arrived gray and drizzly, matching my mood. I woke up early and made breakfast for everyone, then got dressed in my cap and gown. When I came downstairs, the kids were eating cereal and David was scrolling through his phone. "You look nice, Mom," Isabella said sweetly. She was only 8 and the most naturally kind of my children. "Thank you, baby. Are we leaving soon?" Sophia asked. "I want to get good seats." I blinked in surprise. "Good seats for what?" "For your graduation," she said, as if it were obvious. For a moment, hope fluttered in my chest. Maybe they did care more than I'd thought. But then David's phone rang. Carmen's name flashed on the screen. "Hey Carmen," he answered, putting it on speaker. "What's up?" "David, I'm freaking out." Carmen's voice was high with anxiety. "The caterer just called and they're running late. They won't be here until 4, which means we won't be ready when people start arriving. Can you guys come early to help?" "Like, really early?" "How early?" David asked. 3? I know it's cutting it close with Rebecca's thing, but I'm panicking. "Here, this party needs to be perfect. My thing." 16 years of sacrifice reduced to Rebecca's thing. David looked at me apologetically. "We'll figure it out. Don't worry." After he hung up, he turned to me with that expression I'd seen countless times, the look that said my needs were about to be sacrificed for someone else's. "Becca, honey, Carmen really needs us. Her party could be ruined if no." The word came out sharper than I'd intended. "What? No, David. My graduation starts at 11. The reception goes until 3. Carmen's crisis doesn't change that, but we could skip the reception," he suggested. "You'll have your diploma by then. The important part will be over." I stared at my husband, this man I'd built a life with, and realized he didn't understand me at all. The reception wasn't just an afterthought, it was part of the celebration, a chance for families to congratulate graduates and take pictures and feel proud together. "The reception is important to me," I said firmly. "Mom, can't you just get your diploma and leave?" Marcus asked. "Aunt Carmen's party is going to be so cool, and she needs our help." "Yeah, Mom," Sophia chimed in. "It's not like graduation is a party or anything. It's just sitting there listening to names." Their casual dismissal of my achievement broke something inside me. I looked around at my family, my husband checking his phone for messages from Carmen, my children already mentally planning their party outfits, none of them truly seeing me or understanding what this day meant. "Fine," I said quietly. "Go to Carmen's party, all of you. Don't worry about graduation." "What do you mean?" David asked, confused by my sudden change. "I mean exactly what I said. Skip graduation. Go help Carmen. Clearly, that's what you all want to do anyway." "Becca, you're being dramatic. We'll come to graduation first." "No," I said, and there was steel in my voice now. "I don't want you there if you're going to be checking your phones and rushing me through my own celebration. I don't want you there if you're going to treat it like an obligation to get through before the real event." "Mom, that's not fair," Sophia protested. "What's not fair," I replied, "is that I've spent 16 years supporting everyone else's dreams and achievements, and when it's finally my turn, you can't give me one single day where I'm the priority." "But Carmen needs us," Isabella said in her small voice, and I realized even my 8-year-old had been taught that everyone else's needs came before mine. "And I don't?" I asked quietly. The silence that followed was deafening. I took off my cap and gown and laid them carefully on the kitchen counter. "Go to Carmen's party. Have a wonderful time." "I'll be fine." "Becca, you're overreacting," David said, but there was uncertainty in his voice now. "We can do both." "No, we can't. Because doing both means rushing through my graduation to get to her party, and I won't be rushed through the most important day of my life anymore. I walked upstairs and changed into jeans and a sweater. When I came back down, my family was still standing in the kitchen, looking confused and slightly guilty. I'm going to graduation, I announced, alone, because apparently, that's the only way I'll be able to enjoy it. Mom, wait, Sophia called as I grabbed my cap and gown and headed for the door. We're sorry. We'll come with you. I turned back to look at her. Will you? Will you actually be present? Or will you spend the whole time thinking about Carmen's party and checking the clock? Her silence was answer enough. I drove to campus alone, parked in the crowded lot, and walked to the auditorium where hundreds of other graduates were gathering with their families. I saw parents with cameras, siblings with balloons, grandparents in their Sunday best. Everyone was there to celebrate someone they loved. I found my seat in the sea of black caps and gowns and tried not to think about the 4 empty seats I'd reserved in the audience. When they called my name, Rebecca Martinez, Bachelor of Education, summa cum laude, I walked across that stage with my head held high. The applause was polite but generic, without the whoops and cheers that greeted other graduates when their families spotted them after the ceremony. I stood alone in the courtyard while other families took photos and made plans for celebration lunches. My phone buzzed with a text from David. How did it go? We're heading to Carmen's early. See you there later? I turned off my phone and drove home to an empty house. My cap and gown hung on the bedroom door. My diploma sat on the kitchen table, and for the first time in 16 years, I was completely, utterly alone. And surprisingly, it wasn't terrible. It was quiet. It was peaceful. It was mine. I made myself a cup of coffee and sat in my living room, looking at my diploma. Rebecca Martinez, Bachelor of Education, summa cum laude. I had done this, despite everyone else's indifference, despite having to fit my education into the margins of everyone else's lives, despite being made to feel selfish for wanting something of my own. I had done this. My phone started ringing around 6. First David, then Sophia, then even Carmen herself, all wondering where I was. I didn't answer. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't rushing to meet someone else's expectations or soothe someone else's concerns. Instead, I ordered takeout from my favorite Chinese restaurant, opened a bottle of wine I'd been saving, and celebrated my achievement in my own quiet way. I looked through my textbooks, read some of the encouraging comments my professors had written on my papers, and allowed myself to feel proud without apologizing for it. Around 10 p.m., I heard cars in the driveway. My family was home from Carmen's party. David came in first, still wearing his suit, looking uncertain. Becca, we're home. I looked up from the book I was reading. How was the party? It was fine, but we missed you. Carmen kept asking where you were. I'm sure she did. The kids filed in, looking guilty and uncomfortable. Isabella climbed onto the couch next to me. Mommy, I'm sorry we missed your graduation. Her simple, honest apology hit me harder than any of the adults' excuses could have. I wrapped my arms around her. Thank you, baby. The party wasn't as fun as I thought it would be, Marcus admitted. I kept thinking about how we should have been there for you. Sophia, my teenager who usually avoided emotional conversations, sat down across from me. Mom, I'm really sorry. I was being selfish and stupid. Your graduation was important, and we messed up. David remained standing, wringing his hands. Becca, I don't know what to say. You were right. We should have been there. Carmen's party could have waited. I looked at my family, these people I'd centered my entire adult life around, and realized something had fundamentally changed. Not just in how they saw me, but in how I saw myself. I'm glad you had fun at the party, I said calmly. But I need you all to understand something. This can't happen again. I can't continue being the only person in this family whose needs and achievements don't matter. They do matter, David protested. Do they? Really? When's the last time any of you asked about my classes? When's the last time you celebrated something I accomplished? When's the last time my schedule or my needs took priority over Carmen's latest whim? They couldn't answer, because the answer was never. Things need to change, I continued. I'm not just the person who takes care of everyone else. I'm also Rebecca, a person with dreams and goals and achievements worth celebrating. Over the next several months, my family slowly began to prove they understood. David started asking about my day, my work, my plans. The kids began showing interest in my teaching career and even helped me prepare materials for my first classroom. When I received my first teaching award a year later, they threw me a surprise party, just as elaborate as anything they'd ever done for Carmen. Carmen herself seemed to finally understand that she wasn't the only person in the family with dreams worth supporting. She started asking about my work, remembering important dates in my life, and treating me like more than just David's wife who managed the household. Looking back, I realized that missing my graduation was the best thing that could have happened to our family. It forced all of us to confront the unhealthy dynamic we'd fallen into, where my needs were always secondary and my achievements were always minimized. I learned that I don't need anyone else's permission to value myself. I learned that asking for respect isn't selfish, it's necessary. And I learned that sometimes you have to be willing to celebrate alone in order to teach others that you're worth celebrating. My diploma hangs in our living room now, right next to our family photos. My teaching awards sit on the mantle. My achievements are visible, acknowledged, and celebrated. It took missing my graduation for my family to realize that I deserved to be seen. But once they learned that lesson, everything changed. Sometimes the most important victories are the ones you achieve alone, not because no one else is capable of sharing them, but because you finally realize you're worth fighting for, even if the fight is with the people you love most.